It's such a beautiful blessing to welcome you all to this truly historically important webinar, and to begin with her inspirational welcome address. It's a really great honor to introduce to you Ms. Alice Nderitu, who is the head of the United Nations Office of Prevention of Genocide and Responsibility to Protect. And she's the special advisor to the Secretary General of the United Nations on genocide, has a long and distinguished history of work, from academic publications to in the field conflict resolution, working to bring about peaceful societies. She founded and served on numerous networks, commissions, and communities in Africa, as well as playing a critical role, and the only female role, in bringing peace between 10 ethnic communities in Kenya. And that was after mediating several peace processes in other African nations. It was such a joy and honor to work with Mr. Adama Dieng in this office. And it's now such an incredible honor and joy and blessing to work with Ms. Alice Nderitu, and also her incredibly dedicated team, Simona, Denise, Maria, and their whole team. So Alice, with great respect and love, I turn this over to you to officially begin our webinar.
Thank you very much. What an honor. What an honor. Honorable Sathvi, thank you very much for inviting us to be in this space, and also for working so hard to make sure that this has happened. And I would like to begin by saying, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and observing all protocols, that I'm pleased to be here with you today. And I thank again dear Sathvi for everything that she's done. Your book is right behind me. I read it, a chapter by chapter, and quote it a lot. You will see in my speeches that I quote you a lot now. So thank you very much. And when I was asked to deliver this keynote speech on this very important event, I really appreciated that we are speaking to religious leaders in fostering inclusive and peaceful societies in India. I have just come from another conversation just a few minutes ago with another group of religious leaders, this time from Ethiopia. And we were talking about what is it that we need to do to ensure that we have peace in the country, and also speaking about the huge responsibility that religious leaders have in that country. And they say to me, find us other religious leaders in the world. We want to connect with other religious leaders and speak about what we can do for them to give us new ideas of ways we can approach this. So I'm glad to be coming from a meeting with religious leaders to another meeting with religious leaders. And I do begin by expressing my appreciation to the organizers, the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance, and the Religions for Peace, for co-organizing this dialogue, which really is a first with religious leaders on fostering inclusive and peaceful societies in India. And I must say that I'm deeply indebted to Swami Chidanand Saraswati and Sri Sri Ravi Shankar for being with us today to share their knowledge and admirable work in bringing peace worldwide. And I must say also that I welcome all of you who've joined this meeting today from so many parts of the world and who dropped whatever you are doing to be here today. I also would like to thank and begin by also thanking all the people from our office who've engaged so much to get this meeting to happen. Denise, Hausa Simona, Cruciani Maria Westergran, and thank you so much. Always, you work so hard behind the scenes to make these kind of forums possible. Always you provide the energy to ensure that these forums are not only forums that we speak about, but also things that we move towards implementing. So this world we know is rich in terms of ethnic and religious diversity, as India is too. And we have many examples in history of peaceful coexistence and promotion of the principles of respect, equality, and non-discrimination, as well as the impressive work of faith-based organizations in terms of nurturing these traditions. You may be familiar with my mandate, the work of my office, especially in the development and implementation of the plan of action and the role of religious leaders and actors in preventing incitement to violence that could lead to atrocity crimes, which we also call the first plan of action, because it was the thinking into it first came within the city of Fez in Morocco. So I am the special advisor to the Secretary General on the Prevention on Genocide. And I'm tasked to provide early warnings and to make recommendations on potential situations where atrocity crimes, by which I mean genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, may become a concern. And we work very hard to prevent, to halt them, and to protect those at risk. And I would say that so much of our work is uncelebrated because it is often the case that we cannot prove what we prevented. So we know that from history, that the kind of crimes that I have called atrocity crimes, genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, they don't happen overnight. They are planned. They are not spontaneous. They are not random. They are the result of a process and can be detected through early warning signs, which therefore means that there are many opportunities to prevent these crimes before they are perpetrated. And that we do need to take prompt action when we see risk factors and early warning signs of these crimes. So that, for example, when we see widespread discrimination, hate speech, and incitement to violence against individuals or groups based on their identity, or where we notice deepening social exclusion, divisions, and tensions in society, we act on that. And my office has also developed a framework of analysis that helps us to identify these early warning signs and risk factors of atrocity crimes, and which then facilitate early action and response. So disturbingly, in the world, we have witnessed, and I'm sure you've seen too, this huge increase in many of these risk factors across the world. We have seen extreme forms of ethnically and religiously motivated hatred, discrimination, and attacks. And I know too that India, like other countries in the world, has also experienced trends of hate rhetoric against faith communities, especially in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which really has served to magnify the visibility of such trends. Very, very sad. And we must respond, all of us, to these warning signs through prompt and sustained engagement, which includes implementing measures to prevent intergroup tensions from escalating, to addressing hate speech, and to preventing incitement to discrimination, hostility, and violence. So religious leaders and actors, by virtue of their roles, come across as natural protagonists of messages of tolerance, respect, non-discrimination, and building the foundations for peace at the individual and community levels. So the realization of the critical roles of religious leaders and actors in mitigating risk factors of atrocity crimes have informed this decision that was made to develop the plan of action for religious leaders and actors to prevent incitement to violence that could lead to atrocity crimes. So the plan of action was developed under the leadership of my office and was launched by the UN Secretary General in July 2017. I will ask Simona or Denise to post it so that all of us have access to it. And this plan of action for religious leaders and actors includes inputs from faith-based actors from all over the world on strategies and approaches to prevent incitement to violence that could lead to atrocity crimes. And my office, in collaboration with various stakeholders, is implementing the plan of action across regions, including in Asia. So as an example, my office organized a consultation with religious leaders in South and Southeast Asia to generate good practices and recommendations related to the implementation of the FAIR's plan of action in the region. I would say that this plan of action, one of the things it does is it provides a very easy way of engaging from religious perspective on hate speech. Hate speech is a very difficult subject. It's a difficult conversation to have. But this plan of action, because it was developed with the consultation of faith leaders from all over the world, then becomes a very easy way of beginning that very difficult conversation on hate speech. So I do trust that the constructive discussion and sharing of experiences today will contribute towards building peaceful and inclusive societies, preventing atrocity crimes and their incitement, and protecting populations in India. My office stands ready to continue partnering with you towards achieving this goal. Once again, I say thank you very much appreciation for having this opportunity to engage with you and to learn from your wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Alice Dineritu and Naderatu. I'm so sorry, Naderatu. It's always such a great honor and great privilege to hear your words of inspiration and to be able to work together under your leadership and your vision. It's a wonderful blessing to request His Holiness Pujaswami Chidanand Saraswati Ji, who is one of India's most renowned and revered faith leaders across the nation and across the world. He's the president of Parmarth Niketan, one of the largest spiritual institutions in all of India, and the founder and co-chair of the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance, and the founder, chair, and leader and inspiration of so many other charitable and humanitarian programs for children, for women, for girls, for the environment, for disaster victims. We always say his mantra is yes. Whatever it is that's ailing humanity, his response to that is, yes, we will serve. So it's a wonderful honor and blessing to request Puja Swamiji to share with us his vision and his blessings on this crucial and beautiful webinar.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dear Divine Alice and respected spiritual leaders and all my brothers and sisters. In Hinduism, in our sacred scriptures, it is so beautifully said and teach us Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that in the Sanskrit language, it means the whole world is our family. The whole world is one family, one global family. We must care for each other, share with each other, protect and respect each other. I'm so glad to be here in this beautiful evening at this important event, highlighting the importance of our role as faith leaders to bring about peaceful societies for all. The mantra just I chanted at the beginning means, may all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be uplifted and cultured. May no being suffer. Whether you chant in Sanskrit, in English, or in any other language, it is time to take this prayer into action, because the COVID pandemic has come as an ambassador of the concept, leave no one behind. The pandemic has shown us that borders and boundaries of caste, creed, color, race, religion and regions are illusions. We have seen it. When it comes to our health or our safety, nothing worked. The virus does not discriminate. Neither, of course, does water scarcity or climate change. When we realize that we are one universal family, then no one can be left behind. We must take our prayers and our worships out of only our churches, mosques, and mandirs, and bring them into our communities through engaged action. Let us put our prayer into action, meditation into action, love into action, compassion into action. In order to create truly peaceful societies, we must, number one, respect all. Worship your own, but respect all. We may love our own path, our own faith, but we must respect all. This is my humble request. Number two, we must recognize that being safe is a human right. None of us has the right to take that away from another. Number three, we must expand our definition of peace and peaceful societies. Peace must include freedom from violence, but also access to clean air, clean water, sanitation and hygiene. Number four, we must have a zero tolerance policy for hate speech. It hurts. I have seen when it happens, it really breaks the heart of so many. So we must stop this. There is no such thing as only a little. Even a word of hate is too much. It really hurts. Number six, we must make sure that the people who are too frequently left behind must be the ones we reach first. Mahatma Gandhi said so beautifully, the greatness of a nation can be judged by how it treats its weakest members. When the pandemic first started and hate speech and othering began to spread, we worked strongly on the ground to bring an end to that. We worked through advocacy on social media, on TV, in the newspaper, and on the radio. Many other social media channels we worked. We also united faith leaders together online with great frequency. Within the first month of lockdown, we hosted several interfaith events online to keep people safe from COVID and also safe from hate, discrimination, and violence. Prior to the pandemic, we held numerous large-scale interreligious programs, including also dialogue trainings, camps, and events in which we shared the plan of action with Hindu and Muslim youth from gurukuls and madrasas. These programs have been a transformative experience for so many of the youth. I could see through my eyes. I could feel them. I could feel their oneness, inclusiveness. They came in thinking the other was very different, but they quickly realized that actually they are the same. Lastly, these problems of hate speech and atrocity crimes are local and also global. So to combat them, we must act locally and globally with local and global partners. We must be vocal, social, and digital. We have learned from the pandemic that togetherness, oneness, and allness are the keys to fighting off the virus in the air, as well as the virus of hate and division in our hearts and in our minds. So let us work together as people of faith to be the change and to bring the change. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I want to welcome you home one day on the banks of Ganga, all of you. Thank you, thank you, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pujya Maharaji, for your blessings and for your divine words. And really the expansion of our definition of peace is what we must all reflect on today. And hopefully this webinar and all of our faith leaders will help us do that. I have the great privilege and the honor of also welcoming on, of course, Pujya Sadhvi Bhagwati ji has already done the overview and the welcome for the whole panel, but I would like to take an opportunity to formally welcome her and share more about how she is the divine inspiration and so much of the Shakti behind a lot of this work that we do at the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance. She is serving as the Secretary General of the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance. She's the president of the Divine Shakti Foundation and really a spiritual leader that inspires faith in action. And we will have the opportunity to hear from her. She serves on numerous international forums, as well as United Nations Advisory Council on Religion and steering committees of the International Partnership for Religion and Sustainable Development. I request Pujya Sadhvi ji to share her words and introduce the program and give an overview of this entire webinar. Pujya Sadhvi ji.
Respected Alice Naderatu, respected Deepika Singh, the Associate Secretary General of Religions for Peace, all of our renowned, revered, puja, spiritual leaders, faith leaders of the different traditions, may aap sabko pranam karti hu. It's been such a great blessing and a great honor to be part of the creation of the plan of action, from the regional roundtables in Bangkok to having the great blessing to speak at the United Nations in July of 2017 when the plan was officially launched, and then to be able to bring that plan here into India, to get it translated into Hindi, and to be able to share it with so many, including the youth at the program that Pujya Swamiji spoke about. And it's such a great honor today to come together and to be able to share with so many leaders of India, of the different traditions, about this plan of action to end the hate speech and incitement to violence that leads to atrocity crimes, which our respected Alice's office has been working on for close to almost a decade at this point. And this campaign is something that is of critical importance today. We began with information, the untold millions who are dying and suffering across the world from violence that has been incited and provoked by hate speech. Then we had inspiration through the Fez process that led us ultimately into this plan of action. Now it's time for implementation and innovation. We know that approximately 84% of people around the world subscribe to a faith. In India, that number is probably close to 99%. There is no political leader of any party or social leader of any status who has that kind of near unanimous support as faith leaders do in India, with almost 99% subscribing to a faith. What that means is that we, the faith leaders, have truly a critical and very exciting role to play. The COVID pandemic has led to incredible stress, incredible tension, and incredible uncertainty all over the world. And psychologically, we know that when we are under stress, when we feel threatened, we contract. We contract within ourselves and we contract within our communities. The borders and boundaries become thicker and thicker, and the lines get drawn much more clearly and thickly between us and them. And additionally, the inclination to scapegoat individual people or individual communities is a tragically common aspect of human nature when we feel stressed and threatened. We look for someone to blame for our stress. We look for someone to blame for our uncertainty, for our misfortune. And COVID has been no exception to that. The rates of scapegoating, of hate speech, increased exponentially, along with domestic violence and alcohol abuse, all of the very dysfunctional ways that we deal with stress. And that's why it's so important that we come together to dissolve these borders and boundaries, to realize there is no them. There is no other. We are all one. We are one humanity. We are one divine creation. Hate speech and the atrocity crimes that it leads to are rooted in separation, rooted in us versus them, rooted in a dehumanization of the other. And all of us as leaders must commit to a renewed emphasis on the vital and sacred humanity of all. In the Bhagavad Gita, the core scripture, you can say, of the Hindu tradition, Bhagwan Krishna tells us that right speech, dharmic speech, is composed of 3 non-negotiable parts. It must be true, it must be kind, and it must be beneficial. There is no circumstance where hate speech conforms to any of this. It is neither true, nor it is kind, nor it is beneficial. And therefore it is completely unacceptable. Implementation of the plan of action to end atrocity crimes is going to take all of us. And it impacts all of us across sectors and across stakeholders. And that is why we all must come together and use our influence, our impact to prevent this. We must stop putting out fires and actually start looking at how to fireproof our communities. Tragically, we spend most of the time putting out the fires when they arise. Now is the time for that fireproofing of our communities. And lastly, let us strengthen our commitment to unite together and unite leaders of all the different religions together in service, fighting against a common enemy, whether it's diarrhea, stunting, climate change, environmental destruction, loss of our planet's water, whatever it may be. That common enemy can serve as an invaluable tool in preventing the separation, the competition, and the dehumanization that lead to hate speech and violence. And we've seen this in our global Interfaith WASH Alliance of uniting leaders of the different religions to work for water, sanitation, hygiene, to abate climate change, and for environmental protection. Many times we've seen that the love and the touch our communities get through serving together is much more powerful than all of the teaching and all of the preaching. As religious leaders, let us remember that faith can move mountains. We need to harness and channel that power of faith to move the hearts, the minds, and the actions of the people of our communities. Thank you so much for coming together today to put your minds, your mission, and your messages together to end hate speech and to end the incitement to violence that leads to atrocity crimes, to be together in this plan of action. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pujya Sadhviji, for giving us such a beautiful overview of the program. And I think there isn't really much else to say after that, but I would just like to remind all of our speakers, we have about over 20 faith leaders and dignitaries, eminent speakers who are on this panel. My just humble request is we keep our talks to between 3 to 5 minutes so we get to hear from everybody on the panel. And as you know, Pujya Swamiji and Sadhviji have shown by example, that we keep our points very concrete and suggestions for how do we work together as harnessing and leveraging the power of faith to combat hate speech and also the incitement of violence. And so without further ado, I'm just going to quickly move into panel 1 and introduce Pujya Bhai Sahib Ji, respected Bhai Sahib Mohinder Singh Ji, who is joining us from the UK. And he is the third in line of Sikh religious leaders of Guru Nanak Nishkam Sevak Jatha. And he is the chairman of Nishkam group of charitable organizations, leading actively many religious practices and also heritage conservation, education, health, and infrastructure development. He is deeply, deeply passionate about selfless service in many arenas, whether it's education, whether it's humanitarian work. So it's a real joy and a privilege and an honor to welcome Pujya Bhai Sahib Ji, respected Bhai Sahib Ji, to share his words on this beautiful and very vital topic. Bhai Sahib Ji.
Please accept Sikh greetings. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. Dharm is a word which Sikhs like to use for religion. Dharm may be defined as virtuous living and righteous conduct. Dharm demands from practitioners to nurture within themselves boundless compassion, mercy, truthfulness, forgiveness, kindness, humaneness, humility, and abundance of love. The role of religious leaders is to genuinely practice dharma and empower their followers with righteousness to promote a culture of service and responsibilities towards others. The need for peace cannot be overemphasized. Sustained peace is a common aspiration for humanity. It is a deeply shared value for religions and a core goal of the United Nations. The essence of religious faith is peace. However, internal individual peace is a prerequisite for external peace. Sustaining it can greatly advance development. However, we must stimulate a new consciousness, considering, as Pujya Swamiji has put, the entire humanity as one large global family, closely connected and interdependent. Manas ki jaat sabe ek hi pehchan bo, as stated by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the sixth 10th Guru. Developing a culture of peace to alleviate poverty through self-help, self-reliance, and community participation based on inclusive citizenship and good governance is important. making peace building and reconciliation an obligatory part of the education curriculum and a value that is promoted at home, within families, as well as amongst governments and institutions is again very important. Enhancing respect for the rights of all, particularly those of lower castes, women, children, and youth, migrants, refugees, and displaced peoples, becomes necessary. Collectively aiming for peaceful resolution of conflict with utter humility in recognition that extremism is unacceptable, but retaliation to extremism is also extremism in a different guise. Hate speech emanates from the deep within the mind. It must be tackled in the mind for lasting change. We have a teaching in the East, Man Jite Jag Jeet. If you want to change the world and overcome all its challenges, you must first conquer your mind. Since we are not born hating, we need to carefully analyze the spectrum of social factors that cause hate to breed and proliferate in unseen as well as visible ways. The Sikh Mool Mantra, the very succinct root prayer of the Sikhs, summarizes the nature of God and calls on us to live on earth as embodiments of God's divine light. Two prominent words, Nirbhav and Nirvair, describe God as without fear and without hate or malice. Created in God's image, we mustn't harbor these. Hate does not only harm others, but is also a form of self-harm. It is a symptom of the widespread mental health crisis. Addressing life's experiences that shape it must be changed. We have a verse, Sajjan Swami Mora, O Kade na bole koda. You must speak kindly, sweetly, and whatever you said, as Sadhviji said, it must be beneficial. Otherwise, don't say anything. The opening of the Mool Mantra is Ik Onkar in the Sikh scriptures. This is an expression of the sacred oneness of God, whose presence pervades all creation. So we must see everyone and all of creation as divinely interconnected and feel a kinship with one another. We are all, in fact, migrants granted temporary residence on this planet. The slogan of liberty, equality, and fraternity must genuinely shape our ideas of liberty, equality, and freedom with respect for the dignity of difference. Overcoming hate speech is a step towards creating super diverse yet cohesive, inclusive societies, which have the presence of the divine light in every living being. Nature is our mother, our home, our security, our peace, our past and our future. It is our duty and responsibility to treat natural things and habitats as sacred, to be revered and preserved in all their intricate and fragile beauty. This means feeling a genuine kinship with creation and humanity and profoundly respecting the diversity of nature and society is essential. We have to consider all men of all races and creeds to be free and equal in our eyes as they are in the eyes of God. We must scorn all things ignoble and evil and fight against these with courage. God is the creator, and his creative manifestation extends to all humans. Therefore, all humans are intrinsically created in partnership with God and with one another. We thus must emulate divine attributes such as truth, fearlessness, and abundance of love without animosity. We must follow the principle of righteous living by believing in human equality, human dignity, justice, fraternity, and inclusivity for all. It is the basis of inclusive practice such as the loving tradition of langar to actively welcome and serve a meal to people of all backgrounds in a manner befitting, echoing the spirit of hospitality. Such inclusivity takes us beyond coexistence as an attitude of mere tolerance. It translates as a joyful felt kinship which inspires us to serve and make sacrifices for one another and to work for Sarbat da Pala, for the welfare and well-being of all. Inclusive societies, we have to treat responsibilities seriously. For inclusive societies, the proposed Universal Declaration of Human Responsibility states some fundamental guiding principles, which should be seriously considered to be adopted. I quote, "Every person has a responsibility, regardless of gender, ethnic origin, social status, political opinion, language, age, nationality, or religion, to treat all people in a humane way. To respect life. No one has the right to injure, to torture, to kill another human person. This does not exclude the right of justified self-defense of individuals or communities. Have a responsibility to behave with integrity, honesty, and fairness. No person or group should rob or arbitrarily deprive any other person or group of their property. To speak and act truthfully. No one, however high or mighty, should speak lies. The right to privacy and to personal and professional confidentiality is to be respected. All men and all women have a responsibility to show respect to one another and understanding in their partnership. No one should subject another person to sexual exploitation or dependence. The COVID pandemic, along with every disaster, there stands an opportunity. In these unprecedented times, humanity is undergoing some deep awakening. It has been a wake-up call. In a tragic way, the virus has illuminated widespread existing problems caused by entrenched attitudes of self-interest and irresponsibility, which have dominated our actions on this planet. These existing problems include the glaring inequalities in our world, poor levels of physical and mental health, both in affluent and non-affluent nations, and the disastrous effect of economic exploitation, war, and environmental degradation, and of course, selfish possessiveness. The virus has also shown a light on the tremendous potential within us all to take shared responsibility and join in a collective social action. It has revealed the soft power of qualities such as love, compassion, selflessness, and courage to make a difference. It has shown us that it is possible to live more frugally and find contentment in small things. The global nature of the pandemic has pushed us into envisioning humanity, again and again we repeat, as one family, where individuals, groups, organizations, and nations can pull together to work for the collective good, not only to combat the virus, but also to secure a truly livable planet. However, we must not succumb to attitude of doom and gloom, but courageously take full responsibility for fixing things. I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhai Sabji. I will request now Pujya Sadguru Shri Madhusudan Sai Ji, who is leading the mission of spirituality and service by furthering the cause of Sri Satya Sai Baba Ji, a world-renowned spiritualist, humanitarian, and philanthropist. In the last 10 years, Sadguru Shri Madhusudan Sai Ji has initiated and executed various humanitarian service projects across 30 countries, especially around the causes of free value-based education, free tertiary healthcare services, free nutrition to rural, poor, and deprived sections of society, and rendering countless service free of charge to the needy. So thank you so much, Pujya Maharaji, for joining us. We welcome you to share your message and your insights for this webinar.
My reverential greetings to everyone present on this webinar. It's definitely a special occasion, especially in these times of the pandemic. A webinar like this, a dialogue, this is the need of the hour. So I would like to thank all of the organizers, Swami Chidananda Ji, Sadhvi Bhagwati Ji, Nandini Ji for coordinating it, the esteemed Ms. Alice from the United Nations and her team for being here with us, and all the other great religious and spiritual leaders who are a part of this webinar today. Without much introduction, I would like to bring home this point that perhaps the most important tool for avoiding hate speech and communal disharmony and discrimination and violence that arises therefrom would be to believe and understand and experience the truths of our own religions. And above all, Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba, he said that there is only one religion, the religion of love. There is only one caste, the caste of humanity. There is only one language, language of the heart, and there is only one God. He is omnipresent. That is the essence of all religions. That is the essence of all knowledge. That is the essence of all living, all existence. When we believe that our religion is love, for God created us to love each other, serve each other, most of our differences will get dissolved in that one thought. Deriving from our scriptures, Ishavasyopanishad, which says Ishavasyamidam sarvam yat kinchat jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma grudhakasya svidhanam. The whole world is permeated by Isha, the Lord. And everything that we see around us is just divinity and nothing else. And therefore, there is a responsibility on all of us, because we know the truth that everything is divine. We ourselves are divine. Everyone is divine. There is a responsibility to consume, to enjoy with a sense of sacrifice, and do not take any other person's wealth, is what the Upanishads, the most philosophical important scriptures of Sanatana Dharma, tell us. What does that mean by not taking any other person's wealth? Many people think it's not stealing from others. What belongs to them, you don't take it, you don't steal it, be it their knowledge, be it their wealth, be it their properties, be it their happiness, be it their right to life and living. But most importantly, not stealing somebody else's wealth is a very subtle idea which conveys that anything that we don't need simply belongs to others who need it more than us. During the pandemic, several people worked for the welfare of the rest of the humanity. And when they had more than what they needed at that point in time, they shared with others. They gave it to others, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, or whichever faith people subscribe to. There lies the solution to all the problems of the world. When we are sensitive to each other, when we believe everyone is divine, which is what all religions teach us, to love each other, to serve each other, when that love takes the shape of service, all boundaries are dissolved, all the narrowness gets dissolved. But as Sadhviji put it, in the times of crisis is when our life is threatened, our existence is threatened, and that is when the boundaries get defined, redefined, and get thickened. But that is when our scriptures, our religion, our thoughts come into our rescue, when we can think in a broad-minded way. And as Swamiji put it, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are all part of one global family. Because we are a part of education institutions, we run a lot of schools and colleges. I think one solution to stop the hate speech and discrimination and violence in the name of religion and narrow-mindedness would be to start educating our children a little early in their lives, before it's too late to change their mindset, to change their opinion, before they develop a thought process of their own. They should be given the right kind of inputs at an early age, in the impressionistic age of their lives. And that's what we do at our institutions. That's what Baba taught us. That's what most of you all do in your own way. And just to give a glimpse of what it could mean, I picked up one thought from each religion, which is authentic, which is from their scriptures. Consider others as yourself, says Dhammapada. So thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, says the Bible. So also, what you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. That is from Confucius, from Confucianism. As Swamiji said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that everybody is ours, nobody is other. That is what our Maha Upanishad says. Or in Islam, none of you have faith unless he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. It's again a similar thought. Or if I take Jainism, have benevolence towards all living beings, says Tattvartha Sutra. Or if I take Judaism, to love God truly, one must love man. That's as simple as that. To love each other is the only way out. And anyone who tells you that he loves God and does not love his fellow men, you know that he's lying. Sikhism, we heard from the esteemed speaker a while ago. Keep your heart content and cherish compassion for others. This way alone can your holy vow be fulfilled. Granth Sahib says so. Taoism, see others as yourself. See families as your family. See towns as your town. See countries as your country. See worlds as your world. So also Zoroastrianism, happiness be the lot of those who work for the happiness of others. What I'm trying to drive home is a point that if we start it a bit early, than trying to teach this to people who have already grown and made a mindset which cannot be changed again. I want to tell the world, I want to tell every one of us that we must start early with children of the world. We must expose them to the right kind of knowledge about all religion and ultimately take them to the path of spirituality. While religion is following the messenger, spirituality is following the message, and most of the world is stuck there. While religion is how to know oneself, spirituality is actually to know oneself as divine. All religions say that. While religion is a path, spirituality is the journey that we must undertake from ourselves to ourselves. And while religion is about God, the most controversial topic in most of our times, spirituality is about one's own self. Who you are, what you are, how you are. What is your purpose in life? If we get our children to learn this, we expose them to this idea early in life, I think most of the problems will be solved. I know that the discussion today is how to avoid it in present times when it's already rampant, when things are going wrong. There is a way. All of you have given several ideas about it, and we will hear more from others. But in my limited experience, it's my feeling that if we start our children off early on this path and expose them to the right kind of knowledge, then a lot of this ignorance can be destroyed, and they won't grow into people who will make hate speeches inside people in the name of religious violence. We can create a better world together if our education system, our training of younger generation can be modified, can be suited to make the world a more harmonious place. And COVID has made us all feel equal. And I definitely feel that COVID has given us an opportunity to think again. It is a great leveler. It has brought out several lessons. And therefore, I personally would like to re-emphasize and seek everybody's support in bringing some kind of a curriculum, some kind of a system where all children of the world are given some exposure to the sameness of all religions, so they understand that they are not others, they are just ours, we are all same, we are all children of the same God, and we all ought to live on the principles of loving each other and serving each other. That would be our solution as an institution, as a group. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share my few thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pujya Sadhguru Shri Madhusudan Saiji Maharaj. Thank you so much. I think it was so beautiful to see all of the faiths connected in your speech and how you've beautifully wrapped it together for us. And the message of bringing this and starting early, starting with children and really giving them that education that will transform them as agents of change in the future. So thank you so much for that. We move on to our next speaker, who is Imam Umar Ahmad Ilyasi ji, the president of the All India Imam Organization. The All India Imam Organization is the voice of countless Imams of India. Dr. Imam Umar Ahmad Ilyasi ji has been awarded the Doctorate of Philosophy by Desh Bhagat University, Punjab. He is actively engaged in conflict resolution, peace building, interfaith harmony, and dialogue in India and abroad. And with the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance has really been a beautiful advocate for water and sanitation, hygiene, and environmental preservation and climate change. So with that, Dr. Imam Sab, if you would share your insights and suggestions on how do we combat hate speech and how do we work towards building a more inclusive, harmonious society for all.
Sure.
Imam Sab.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nasalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Respected Swami Chidanand Saraswati Ji Maharaj, respected Sadhvi Bhagwati Ji, respected religious leaders, distinguished speakers, and Sister Alice, UN Said, and Sister Deepika Singh, and organizers. मैं सबसे पहले मुबारकबाद दूंगा जीवा को, ग्लोबल वॉश अलायंस को, कि जिन्होंने आज का ये जो टॉपिक है, जो टॉपिक है हमारा, ये जिसमें हमने आज role of religious leaders in fostering inclusive and peaceful societies in India and globe. बहुत अच्छा टॉपिक है और मैं समझता हूं कि this is the high time and right time. जैसा साध्वी भगवती जी ने कहा कि हम बैंकॉक में जब यूएन की ये कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई थी तब हम साथ ही थे और वहीं से ये सिलसिला शुरू हुआ और ये एक्शन आज हमको देखने को मिल रहा है कि आज भारत के अंदर इस पर एक्शन शुरू हो गया है। फेथ लीडर्स का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल होता है। फेथ लीडर्स ही समाज को दिशा देते हैं और बदलाव लाते हैं, लोग उनकी बात को मानते हैं। हमारे सबके धर्म अलग हो सकते हैं, हमारी सबकी जातियां पंथ अलग हो सकते हैं, हमारे इबादत करने के तरीके अलग हो सकते हैं, लेकिन हमारा जो सबसे बड़ा धर्म है वो इंसान का है और इंसानियत का है। आज इंसानियत का जो धर्म है, जो इंसान को निभाना है, वही सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है। जब हम एक दूसरे के धर्मों का आदर सम्मान करेंगे, हम एक दूसरे के लोगों का, धर्म गुरुओं का रेस्पेक्ट करेंगे, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये सब झगड़ा नहीं होगा। अब हमें चाहिए कि इसको कैसे खत्म किया जाए। ये बात तो सही है कि अभी सभी धर्म गुरु ये कह रहे हैं कि सारी धर्म की जो ग्रंथ हैं, सारे ग्रंथ सब अच्छी बात बोलते हैं, कोई भी किताब हो सब अच्छी बात बोलती है, अच्छी बात बताती है। जितने भी महापुरुष हुए हैं उन्होंने भी अच्छी बात कही है, हमारे जो धर्म गुरु हैं वो भी अच्छी बात करते हैं। लेकिन हमारे जो लोग उसको क्यों अमल में नहीं ला रहे, क्यों हेट्रेड स्पीचेस देते हैं और क्यों नफरत फैलाते हैं? इस नफरत को खत्म करने के लिए मुझे लगता है कि आज फेथ लीडर्स ही अगर आगे आएंगे तो मुझे लगता है कि नफरत खत्म होगी। मैं इसका एक एग्जांपल देता हूं कि स्वामी, मेरे बड़े भाई, मोस्ट रेस्पेक्टेड स्वामी चिदानंद सरस्वती जी, हमारे इंडिया में अब 4 साल पहले एक हिंदू मुस्लिम का राइट्स हुआ था, तो हमने यहाँ से सारे धर्म गुरु स्वामी जी की लीडरशिप में हम लोग सारे मुजफ्फरनगर गए थे, सारे सारे धर्म के लोग एज ए फायर ब्रिगेड की तरह, जो नफरत की आग वहां फैली हुई थी, उस नफरत की आग को बुझाने में फेथ लीडर्स ने फायर ब्रिगेड की तरह जाकर एक माहौल को अच्छा किया। तो मुझे लगता है कि फेथ लीडर्स का ही रोल है कि सबसे ज्यादा कि ये लोग अपनी मंदिरों से, मठों से, मस्जिदों से, गुरुद्वारों से, चर्चों से जब इस बात को रखेंगे, इस नफरत की जो बातें हैं उसको वहां पर उसको खत्म करेंगे, कंडम करते रहेंगे, तो मुझे लगता है कि हालात जरूर बदलेंगे। क्योंकि जिस तरह से भारत का मैं चीफ इमाम हूं और हमारे जो है भारत के अंदर तकरीबन 5.5 लाख मस्जिदें हैं, अगर हम मस्जिदों के माध्यम से जुमे के अंदर, शुक्रवार के दिन, फ्राइडे सर्मन्स में अगर हम उनको अच्छी बात बताएंगे, हम कहें नफरत नहीं हो, इस पर बात उनको दिशा देंगे, तो उस पर जरूर असर होगा। तो इसलिए मैं समझता हूं कि फेथ लीडर्स का ही सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है और फेथ लीडर्स को आगे आना चाहिए। और मैं यूएन के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को भी मुबारकबाद दूंगा कि इस तरह का उन्होंने एक प्रोग्राम हम ग्लोबल वॉश अलायंस, इंटरफेथ वॉश अलायंस के साथ मिलकर किया है। ये बहुत वक्त की जरूरत है और मैं इस वक्त में, चूंकि सभी ने अपनी अपनी बातें कही हैं, और मैं यही कहूंगा कि हम सबको मिलकर ही रहना चाहिए और मिलकर हमें जो आपस का जो संदेश है प्यार मोहब्बत का, इसी को हमें देना चाहिए। नफरत किसी को भी पसंद नहीं है। कोविड-19 की महामारी, पैंडेमिक आपके सामने आई, लोग बहुत डिप्रेशन में हैं, लोग परेशान हैं, लोगों के साथ बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, किसी के भाई चले गए, किसी की बहन चली गई, किसी के फादर चले गए, मदर चले गए, बहुत लोग परेशान हैं। तो हमें इस समय में तो कम से कम कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक से सीखना चाहिए। इंसानियत की जरूरत है, एक दूसरे के साथ हमदर्दी करें, एक दूसरे से प्यार करें, तो तभी जाके मुझे लगता है कि तभी जाके सब लोग पूरा अमन होगा। और मैं, सरकार अपना काम करती है, यूएन अपना काम करती है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, एनजीओज अपना काम करते हैं, लेकिन हमारी भी अपनी कोई जिम्मेदारी है। हम अपनी एक जिम्मेदारी को निभाते हुए पूरे अपने मंदिरों से, मस्जिदों से इस पैगाम को, अमन का पैगाम, मोहब्बत का पैगाम को अगर हम आम करेंगे, इस धर्म को जो इंसानियत का नाम है इसको ज्यादा बताएंगे, तो मुझे लगता है कि आपस में ये मोहब्बत बनेगी और ये नफरत खत्म होगी। नफरत को खत्म करने के लिए सिर्फ जो है ग्लोबल वॉश अलायंस और ये जो और तमाम जितने भी फेथ लीडर्स इसमें अपना रोल अदा करेंगे, तो मैं समझता हूं कि बिल्कुल इसका अच्छा असर होगा, लोगों के अंदर से नफरत खत्म होगी। क्योंकि मैं ज्यादा बोल नहीं करके बस यही कहना चाहता हूं कि हमें एक्शन करना है। जिस तरह से ग्लोबल इंटरफेथ वॉश अलायंस ने एक्शन में आए, इस तरह से सबको एक्शन की जरूरत है, जिससे कि ग्राउंड लेवल पे जाके हमें इस पर अमल करें और जो एक दूसरे के साथ जो नफरत हो रही है उसको खत्म करें, उसको नफरत को मोहब्बत में तब्दील कर दें। यही हमें पैगाम देना है, यही आज का मेरा पैगाम है। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। मैं नंदिनी जी, आपको भी शुक्रिया, आपको भी थैंक यू वेरी मच। आपने इतना अच्छा प्रोग्राम सारा ऑर्गेनाइज किया, और ग्लोबल इंटरफेथ वॉश अलायंस के ऑर्गेनाइजर्स को भी थैंक्स करता हूं और दुआ करता हूं सबके लिए, सब खुशहाल रहें, सब तंदुरुस्त रहें, और सबके लिए तमाम जो मेरे जितने भी स्पीकर्स हैं उनको भी और सबके लिए भी मेरा सलाम। थैंक यू वेरी मच। व आखिर दावाना Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Imam Sahib, ये सब आपकी दुआएं हैं, आपकी blessings है that we are able to put together these things, and बहुत सारे सेवक, lots of volunteers, lots of the team of the Global Interfaith WASH Alliance, Religions for Peace, as well as the UN Genocide Prevention offices have really come together in a very beautiful way to organize this webinar. So I, on behalf of everyone else, take this gratitude and share it with the entire team. And thank you so much for your message. I think Imam Sahib की message हमारे इतना time तो नहीं होगा translate करने के लिए, लेकिन सार रूप में in the essence to share what he was saying is how faith leaders, by various examples that he was sharing of the work that we have done together. He was giving the example of how he and Pujya Swamiji were together in a state of riots in Muzaffarnagar, and how they had addressed really as fire extinguishers the conflict that was happening there with this compassion in action and peace in action, and what that looks like when faith leaders come together hand in hand across borders and boundaries to really address conflicts at their root, and what an example it creates. So thank you so much, Imam Sahib, for that beautiful example, and also helping us see what we can do together and the power of faith in being able to be the answer. So with that, we request our Dr. Chinmay Pandey ji, actually will be taking him in this panel because he is unable to stay very long with us. He is joining from Bahrain and he's having a difficult time connecting with us. So we're going to actually take him on in this panel. And he, with a brief introduction, he's the Pro Vice Chancellor of Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya, which is a university based here in Haridwar. It's these following medical studies in India. He trained in the United Kingdom, where he gained membership of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. In London, he rose through the ranks of the British National Health Service and secured the post of Associate Specialist in Older People Services at the West London Mental Health Trust. Dr. Pandey occupies multiple roles in life of his university and beyond, and it's absolutely a beautiful privilege and an honor to welcome him and to ask him to share his insights on this occasion.
Many thanks, Gangaji, and my utmost gratitude in regards to Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswati ji, Adharaniya Swami Bhagwati ji, Adharaniya Swami Shantatmanand ji, Simona ji, all the distinguished dignitaries. Bhai Sahab, I can see from UK is also connected. So all the distinguished dignitaries from different parts of the world, my brothers and sisters. First of all, my sincere apologies that I wanted to join you later on, but because I'm about to take a connecting flight from here, I have to request you to connect me a bit sooner than anticipated. This is a very emotional occasion for me, and not only because this wonderful theme is being discussed in such an august gathering, but also because the concept of peaceful societies together, that's been the foundation of the Gayatri Parivar, and it's the 50th year of our establishment. And when I look back at the journey of the Gayatri Parivar, and you can imagine that 150 million members of the Gayatri Parivar are there, but rather than calling it an organization, Gurudev called it a Parivar. So we are together like a family in this big organization, vast organization. And when I was thinking about or contemplating upon the theme that's been chosen by Pujya Swamiji and the United Nations for today's discussion, I was reminded of a famous Sanskrit saying, and it essentially conveys that the individual victories are insignificant if the collective effort has been eclipsed by a tragedy. That individual revolutions are important, but not more than a collective evolution. And if you look at the collective travel of the mankind, if you look at the journey of the humanity together, then no doubt we will find numerous outstanding individual accomplishments. Innovations are there, discoveries are there, successful feats are there. But we would also find that many pages of our history books are soaked in the cascade of blood, and that happened in the name of religion. And that allows one to question that how could we permit religion which is such a profound experience for mankind. This is the best experience that anyone could have, for it to get poisoned with hatred, intolerance, and violence. How could such a misfortune take place right in front of our eyes? And like somebody said, that, you know, world could be a dangerous place to live, not only because of the people who are nasty, but also because of the people who are good. Their hearts are good, but they decided to do nothing about it. So this is the place, I think, this is the way, and this is the hour, and this is the manner where good people could and they should come together to provide a resolute and determined response to this calamity of consciousness. I have purposely used the word consciousness because what I just talked about, everyone is aware of it, and everyone is desperate to seek a solution, otherwise we won't be here. But when we talk about the solutions, we continue to focus upon the external methodologies only. Let's change a law, bring a new act, bring a new regulation. And they cannot solely bring a change unless there is a change in the global mindset or consciousness. These crises of the human conscience that allow people to continue living their lives with apathy, ignorance, hatred, violence, while society is collapsing, humanity is suffering, future appears to be bleak. It demands a fundamental change in the way we think and address these issues. And this change cannot happen if I just change my hair, or if I just change, like, you know, the color of my hair, or get a new tattoo. It is a substantive change in the personality. And it can only happen if there is a will, determination, and global, like, you know, appeal into the heart of the people to come together and do something for it. And it's not a utopia, it can happen. You already know Puja Swamiji from Satya Sai Baba's ashram was just mentioning earlier that this concept of the sahacharya has been there in all religion from the very beginning. And in India, we can see the example. We have got 22 official languages, which is too short of the Europe. 24 official languages are there. We have 19,500 dialects. So somehow we have learned that there is a lot that unites us than what divides us. And this search of shared values and love is, to me, is the foundation of this kind of effort. Like, you know, the Mahopanishad that Puja Swamiji mentioned, it says, Ayam Nijaha Paroveti Ganana Laguchir Samudara Jarata Namutu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is mine, that is yours. This kind of feeling belongs to the small children. Udara Charita Namutu, those who have got big hearts, for them, the whole world is one single family. So we can create one single family. And I would like to quote Puj Gurudev here, who wrote 3,200 books, established the entire Gayatri Parivar fraternity, and gave only one single message for it to exist: Pida or Patan ka Nivaran, that we are here only to help those who are suffering, and we are here to help those who are lost in their life paths. And this is the cause where I think everyone could be united. 4 founding principles that he talked about, and I'm sharing it with you in case they could be of any benefit for this congregation to take any further. First, he said, is ekta, solidarity, that is sticking together no matter what happens. And we are, like, you know, Maulvi Sahib was saying that in this difficult time, what we have learned, definitely for sure, is that we need to stick together. This is a crisis for entire humanity. This is a crisis for entire mankind. And we are supposed to be together. Samata, which means equality. And there could be no place of inequality in a world of spirituality. Mamata, which means compassion, and Shuchita, which means sacredness. If these principles are there, then they could unite everyone and anyone, anywhere and everywhere. And I shall end by quoting what Gurudev said in 1987. It's like he was writing it this morning. He said, current times may look dark and gloomy, but they should not bring fear or despair to us. Rather, we should embrace them like a call of action, because this is a sign that we are born at a very special time. We are born at a time where entire humanity is called to accomplish that it never accomplished before. We should forget about races, religion, caste, creed, sector, all kinds of divisions that actually divides us. But we should come together like a family and fight this misfortune together. And I'm very hopeful that through this effort that's led by Puja Swamiji and Puja Bhagwati ji, this could happen. And our utmost gratitude, all the Gayatri Parivar members of 15 crore members of Gayatri Parivar are in this effort of Puja Swamiji together. And my humble gratitude and my humble regards to Adharaniya Sadhvi Bhagwati ji, Puja Swamiji, all the members of the United Nations. And with Pranam, Shubh Kamna and Mangal Kamna, again, gratitude to all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinmay Pandeyji. You know, we always look to faith leaders for light and for inspiration, and your message has really brought that a way and a perspective to look at our challenges, to look at the pandemic as an opportunity for us to really be called to action. So thank you so much for joining us.
Ironically, I was looking, Gangaji, for light also because I'm trying to find a decent corner in the airport and there is no light anywhere. So I'm the only person with very dim lights.
You are the light. I was good. Up, you're coming from such a dark. You look like you're in such a dark place, but you're giving so much light, emanating light. So thank you so much. Thanks to all of our faith leaders for joining us today, and we move on to Pujya Gurudev Sri Rakesh Ji, who is a modern day mystic and a renowned spiritual leader. He's an ardent devotee of Srimad Rajchandra. He is advancing the path of Lord Mahavir. He is the founder of Srimad Rajchandra Mission, Dhanpur, which is a spiritual organization with 108 centers across 5 continents. He's blending theory with experience and the head with the heart. Pujya Gurudev Sri Rakesh Ji provides powerful and practical tools to joyfully tread the inward journey. He is empowering and transforming thousands across the globe today with his teachings and his divine example. And we request his team to share his message. And we're so glad that he is able to join us today for this webinar.
We live in an age of guided missiles, misguided men. We worry about disappearing icebergs and global climate change, but not about disappearing values and human moral change. Despite several talks and discussions on peace, the highest earning industry is of armaments. Despite customized entertainment options, the highest selling drugs are antidepressants. And despite public successes, we experience private failures. All this because somewhere along the way, we have lost our path. Can we bring it back and breathe those values again? The answer lies in reviving the path of spirituality. While the purpose of technology is to obtain comforts and luxuries, the purpose of spirituality is to attain true peace and bliss, something that money cannot buy. Our ancient scriptures and value systems of every faith elevate us to a higher dimension of existence. Religion, when practiced with the goal of cultivating virtues, transforms one into a beacon of love, peace, and harmony. But it is a great misfortune that we are witnessing manipulation and misinterpretations of those very ideals in the name of religion. The ideal of unity has mutated into mob mentality. Universal love has been poisoned with hate for the other. Selfless compassion has degraded to heartless communal violence. These ideals have been ignored. Instead, we have adopted comparisons on appearances, geographies, and beliefs. After all, aren't external conflicts only a larger manifestation of the latent tensions that exist within? Hate begins in the mind, shaped by society and by how we are taught to view the world and respond to situations. The one value that surpasses gender, race, culture, and religious differences is the pure and powerful virtue of love. Love is natural, experiential, and truthful. It knows no bounds. Lord Mahavir preached love towards all beings, with neither exception nor condition. He saw the pristine, blissful soul in each and every being in the vast universe. Where we see differences, enlightened Master sees commonalities. Their focus is on the eternal and unchanging, while ours remain on the external and impermanent. And so for them, all differences dissolve, all delusions depart, and all distinctions stand destroyed. If our gaze was on the uniformity in each of us, there would be no reason to fight, because the idea of the other would be eliminated. All would appear alive. The cause of hatred would be uprooted. Mitti me sauva voice, veram achan again. I have friendship with all beings. I have no enmity with anybody. His prayer is at the core of togetherness, making no distinctions of faith or nationality. It is the same song of oneness sung in the Bible, the Quran, and the Bhagavad Gita. And then we don't need to tolerate differences. We can celebrate them. Celebrate diversity like a carnival. This will bring us together. Differences in food and clothes are well accepted, but not those in religious traditions or wisdom. This is because of our narrow minds and prejudices. Let's come out of it. Let's challenge and change our biases. Let's respect diversity and honor differences. Harmony in diversity is the synthesis of differences, a powerful principle for balanced and sublime living, bestowing respect for all ideologies. This may appear to be a pipe dream, but it is one worth dreaming. If we really seek this revolution, there could be two ways to realize it: secularize religion and spiritualize politics. Secularize religion by caring for all, not only for your own community. Educating the extremists and giving them a spiritual experience, then perhaps all fanaticism will vanish. And spiritualize politics by caring for people genuinely, not only for their position and power. The classic example of this is Mahatma Gandhi, who cared for people across boundaries and barriers, regardless of their background. Such multi-visionary thinking can foster friendship and forgiveness, loving kindness and biasness. It is this strong foundation on which evolved human beings, civilized societies, and gracious nations stand today. It is our responsibility now, more than ever, to revive the true spirit of religion within the hearts of people. To take it from the books into our beings, to uphold the spiritual legacy encompassed in our ancient wisdom. To not just be tolerant of diverse ideologies, but invite them wholeheartedly. To play the melody of compassion louder than the blaring noise of comparison. Let us resolve to unite against the forces of intolerance. Let us spark a thought revolution that puts compassion into act. Let us become the guardians of spirituality and protect the purity of the religion that has protected us. Let us build long-standing ties of trust and inclusivity through mutual efforts and shared respect. On behalf of the Jain community, I would like to extend a hand in cooperation and commitment towards the message of solidarity, the spirit of harmony, and peaceful coexistence. may the grace of the enlightened masters bless the world with peace and harmony.
It's always such a challenge in a digital period to have everyone be able to have good internet connection and to be able to join us live. Pujya Gurudev Shri did join us live, but was unable to connect from Dharampur, Gujarat. And therefore we had this video message as his message, just in case if his connection didn't work. So we were so glad that we were able to play it, but it's just, again, such a privilege that all of our faith leaders who are able to join us live today, what a blessing and what a privilege to have them. So thank you so much to everyone who is on board today. And with that, we move to our message and our blessing from Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya Ji, who is the Secretary General of the International Buddhist Confederation, which is the IBC is the global umbrella for the Buddhist body headquartered in New Delhi. It is an established under the patronage of the Supreme Buddhist religious hierarchy. It runs numerous of the large-scale programs that happen here in India, but Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya is also the founder of the Dhamma Deepa Foundation. He's the Secretary General of the Northeast India Buddhist Sangha Council, and he's the founder and the chairman of Bahujan Hit Education Trust. It's beautiful to welcome Dr. Dhammapiya Ji here with us today to share his insights and to guide us from a Buddhist perspective of how do we really work together, and from his examples of what we can do to combat hate speech and again build more inclusive and more peaceful and harmonious society. Venerable Dr. Dhammapiya Ji.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Buddhang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Sanghang saranang gacchami. Greetings from IBC, International Buddhist Confederation. The motto of IBC is collective wisdom and united voice. I understand this motto is very important in today's context here, that we, the faith leaders, have come together to address a crisis which is global in nature, and that can be possible with our collective wisdom. And instead of united voice, I would like to say by united actions. So what we have heard till now is that every scripture, every religion talks about all the good human values or the good things to be done by human beings. Then the question is, why such things are happening in the world, which we genuinely as peace-loving human beings do not want? These things are happening around the world, like as discussed, the conflicts, the hate speech, violence. Why these things are happening? It is not because some people do not follow religion. They incite and provoke such kind of hate speeches, conflicts, and violence. But such negative actions are being provoked by even the people who follow religions. Then what is the problem? We all know, though we profess to follow certain religion, we are not sincere enough to practice all the good commandments or good teachings of our own each religion. If each religion talks about service, love, compassion, treating each other as we treat ourselves with love and respect, then there is no reason to have this kind of conflict. That is, the problem is we don't really follow and practice the teachings of our own religion. I am very happy to hear from Dr. Imam Omar Ahmed Ilyas Ji, the president of All India Imam Organization. The one point I feel is a very important point. He has said, in India, there are 5.5 lakhs masjids. On every Friday, if all the persons, the imams or whoever is the head of that masjid, gives the teaching, the message of two things. One is the you dharma, or this universal dharma. It's not my dharma or your dharma, or your religion or my religion, but the universal dharma, universal religious values, that is the love, compassion, and service, respecting each other, what we have all tried to encapsulate from different religions. If we teach that universal religious values on every Friday in all those masjids, and when we teach in our Buddhist monasteries and temples, mandirs, churches on different occasions to our people, to our followers, the same kind of universal dharma, that I think collectively we can have united action which can reduce and mitigate the hate speech and conflicts and violence. And these hate speech, conflicts, and violence are not caused by only the followers of religions, but there may be many other religions. So we can include other people also to join. There are different other leaders who also play a very important role in inciting those hate speech, conflicts, and violence. When we all come together and work collectively towards this goal and teach you dharma, that is universal dharma, and one more thing is UID, that is universal identity. That means my individual identity is as a human being, that is a man, a Buddhist, Indian, American, African, whatever. That is my individual identity. Okay, fine. But we have to teach and practice the universal identity. That is, though I am an Indian, but I live under the same moon, sun, with the same air, water, oxygen, and the same world with one humanity. To teach this message, I think this will help us understand our interconnectedness, interdependentness, and inclusiveness, which can promote all-inclusive, stable, secure, and peaceful society. It's very important we come together, because now we are a few here. 29, 30, and the world is so big, we do not know whether together and preach and teach and practice the message of love, compassion, service, and respect each other. If there are people who disagree with us, we have to bring them on board and also then collectively do something good. I hope when we do work collectively, we can definitely achieve the goal we want. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Venerable Dr. Thamapiaji. Indeed, so many of our faith messages have really come on the same platform and echoed this message of how we as faith community and faith leaders must focus on what we have in common. And there's so much that we have in common. So thank you so much, Venerable Dr. Thamapiaji, for patiently staying on with us and for sharing your insights and your inspiration. And we hope to keep inviting you and hearing from you again and again. So with that, our panel too concludes here. And it is such a joy and such a privilege and such an honor to welcome Pujya Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, who has joined us. I will request Pujya Sadhvi Bhagwati Ji to introduce him, and then we will hear from Pujya Gurudev.
It's such a blessing and such a joy and an honor to have with us Pujya Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar Ji. He truly, in a matchless way, has spearheaded a movement across the world for stress-free, violence-free, deeply connected, deeply compassionate societies. Through founding the Art of Living, the International Association for Human Values, and so many other related and connected organizations and programs, he has touched in a very deep and very transformational way an estimated 450 million people around the world. It's truly an extraordinary movement of bringing people into deep connection with their hearts, with their truth, with each other. And these are the movements that we really need today. And to have Pujya Shri Shri Ji with us on this panel is such a great blessing, such an honor. And I humbly and lovingly request him to share with us his words of inspiration of how we truly can work together to bring about this plan of action in India and across the world to end hate speech, end incitement to violence, and end atrocity crimes. Pujya Gurudev Shri.
Namaskar, Swamiji, Adarniya Chidanand Saraswati Ji Maharaj, and all other dignitaries who are present on this panel. It's a pleasure to speak to you all and to be with you all. In spirit, we are all together. I mean, this WASH Alliance has been founded by Pujya Swami Chidanand Ji for several years ago now. I think maybe 10 years or 11 years back, with this one intention of caring for environment. I am sure every religious leader, spiritual leader, for that matter, any good human being cannot ignore to care for environment. Environment is our basic existence. Our basic existence depends on our environment. So we need to care for the environment and create a peaceful society. For that, none other than faith leaders can take lead. I tell you, the conflicts that has happened in the world in the name of faith has taken a big toll on peace of the planet. And it is time that we recognize this and we recognize that we all have to work together to build peace. When some people think only they have the key for heaven and their way is the only way, they create problem for everyone else. We need to change this mindset and bring into understanding the planet loves diversity. So does God. God loves diversity, and that is why the planet is so diverse. And so live and let live has to be the principle. If these principles are enshrined in young minds, I don't think anybody will get into conflict. So instead of making the diversity or the differences as a point of contention, we can turn that around to make it a way for celebrating life. Life is worth celebration, not worth violence or conflict. So the principle of ahimsa, non-violence, and cooperation and caring for environment, all these go hand in hand. So I'm very happy, glad that so many of you, so many of the faith leaders have come together today and giving call to our planet to come together to see that we can all help each other, celebrate our differences and coexist peacefully, make life a celebration. And it is such a honor that UN Genocide Prevention Office has also joined this, and see, genocide is the biggest crime against humanity. Genocide does not arise from a healthy mind. So the mind must be so sick to think about genocide. So for that, mental health is very important. Whether it is of the leader or political leader, social worker, or a religious head, we need to have the clarity in mind, purity in heart, and sincerity in action. That can happen when we are free from stress, when we have broader understanding and see life from a broader perspective or bigger context. We have one planet, one humanity, and different faiths to live together, to celebrate, and to make this planet a better place for coming generations. The planet has seen many genocides, many a war, even in the recent years, such atrocities against women and children and people of other faiths. And it's so timely that all the religious leaders and Religion for Peace is coming here too, and everyone jointly giving this statement. I see people representing various faiths here. The Sikh faith has contributed immensely for the world peace. They have said Ek Onkar Satnam, there is one divinity. And the Hinduism has said that Ekam Sadvipra Bahuda Vadanti, the one truth, and but perceived in many ways. And so is Islam and Christianity and Jainism, Buddhism. All different faiths are such a treasure for humanity. We must honor all the differences and celebrate the differences. And this conference, I hope, will take up some concrete steps, as our Adharaniya Sadhvi Bhagwati ji mentioned. We have to move with concrete steps. We all have ideology, but what next? What are we going to do? What is the next step we are going to take? In this sense, first I would say mental health is very, very important. We have to care for the mental health of the planet. Post-pandemic, it seems there is one suicide attempt every 45 seconds. As we are talking, many people attempted or even committed suicide. And this shows there is something seriously lacking that we faith leaders and social workers can pitch in, do and contribute and make the difference. Second thing is gender equality, giving women their rightful place and honoring women's security and child welfare. Third, I would say the menace of addictions. People are good basically, but it is the addiction that they get into, whether it is substance abuse or alcohol or any other narcotic addictions, that steals away, takes away the humanness of a human being. So we have to address this issue to see how we can help people who are in drug menace or any other addiction, help them come out of those. And fourth is to continue to have interfaith dialogues time and again. Just once in a year, twice in a year is not enough. We need to keep having this locally, nationally and international levels, time and again, whether virtual or in real presence, in real time. We all must continue to nurture people. And finally, I would say, let's identify those elements who, for their selfish goals, for their narrow-minded selfish interests, try to divide the society or try to take advantage when there is a little difference that pops up in society. We need to identify them, reach out to them, talk to them, put sense in the minds of such people. This is a very big task, but I think we can do as faith leaders, as leaders of society. There is nothing that we cannot do. With God's grace, with the prayerful mind and a compassionate heart, we can achieve what we want to. And I wish you all the best and thank you all for having me part of your panel. And wonderful, and namaste. Namaste to everybody.
Thank you so much to Puja Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji Maharaj for such an inspiring, a deeply, deeply uplifting and inspirational talk. The work that you are doing around the world through Art of Living, through the International Association for Human Values, and through all of your work is really having such an extraordinary impact and ripple across the world of peace. And having you as part of this critical initiative, I'm sure is going to have such a phenomenal impact on this initiative, on this campaign, on spreading this plan of action. So thank you so much. And before we go into panel 2, where we will be led by our respected Deepika Singh, the Associate Secretary General for Religions for Peace and the Director of Programs, I know that Puja Swamiji would also like to say a few words to Puja Sri Sri Ji. So Puja Swamiji, and then we will go straight into panel 2 with Deepika Ji.
So glad, first of all, my pranams, that you know that you have, in spite of that, Darshan Diya is so great, so wonderful.
Thank you, Sadhviji. Ms. Alice Derita, Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide, Pujya Swami Chidananda Saraswati Ji, Pujya Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswati Ji, respected religious leaders, greetings to all. As mentioned, I serve as the Associate Secretary General and the Director of Programs at Religious Peace, one of the largest multi-religious movements that spans across the globe in 90 countries and has been working in the areas of peace and security, human rights and development over 5 decades. It's such an honor and privilege to be moderating this session. We have such eminent religious leaders who will be sharing their roles and experiences in building and fostering peaceful and inclusive society in India. Never before has there been such great need for religious leaders and their engagement to suppress the ever-growing tide of social hostility, the hate speech and incitement that are being spewed to undermine social cohesion and even spur on violence. And the global pandemic has further adversely impacted the situation. Religious leaders, as we know, are frequently trusted within the community with their moral authority, their extraordinary reach, access, credibility, network, and resources. They can influence thinking, attitudes, and behaviors, promote dialogues, respect, and tolerance, and even set priorities for members of their communities. All this truly enables them to make valuable contributions in addressing challenges plaguing the communities. And when diverse religious leaders come together to work together through multi-religious collaboration, it can be much more powerful than the efforts of individual religious groups acting alone. So we're very most fortunate. We have distinguished leaders from various religious traditions with us today. Each of our eminent speakers have 3 to 5 minutes each to share their remarks, though we know they have much to say and we have a lot to learn from them. Due to the time constraint, I humbly request respected religious leaders to kindly stick to their allotted time. So without further ado, I have the privilege to welcome our first speaker, Pujya Sadhvi Srila Prabhuji. With her simplistic approach to the doctrines of ahimsa, love and compassion, Pujya Sadhvi Srila Prabhuji Maharaj, a dynamic and inspiring leader, appeals to people from every faith and all walks of life. With an MPhil in comparative religion from University of London, Sadhvi Srila is the first Sadhvi in Jain tradition to have pursued overseas education. A grand canvas of her dedication is embodied in Virayatan Vidyapith, Kutch, Gujarat, a massive relief and rehabilitation project which stands tall today as a beacon of hope, creating numerous opportunities for the educational and professional development of the rural population. Sadhviji, we welcome you to share with us your experiences and insights.
Thank you, Deepika ji. Thank you so much. Om Mangalam, Omkar Mangalam, Veer Mangalam, Mahavir Mangalam, Veer Mangalam, Mahavir Mangalam. First of all, I would like to congratulate the officials of United Nations for their tremendous efforts for genocide prevention and the esteemed members of Global Interfaith WASH Alliance for organizing this webinar to promote a peaceful and compassionate societies worldwide. My special thank you to Pujya Swami ji and our beloved Sadhvi ji. ये दोनों ऐसे इंस्पिरेशन है कि खुद भी चुप नहीं बैठते हैं और किसी को चुप बैठने नहीं देते हैं. Always work hard for the development and creating compassionate societies. I'm also thrilled to see that many passionate people are working hard to create a world of non-violence, peace, and compassion. And the only way to live in this world is to let live. In fact, without compassion, we live not in the cosmos, but in chaos. 300 years ago, after the Industrial and Scientific Revolution, we thought that so many modern comforts, we would be able to solve all our problems. Today, we have everything: touchscreen communication, powerful machines of every kind, you name it and we have it. But nothing has changed. 300 years ago, a man would cry sitting under a tree. Today, a man cries sitting in an air-conditioned room. Only the surroundings have changed. The crime, intolerance, discrimination, violence, rape, murder is same. Nothing has changed. My friends, we have fought enough in the name of religion, nation, color, race, and gender. Now is the time to set aside all our outer differences and join hands to make this world a beautiful place full of peace, love, and compassion. We may belong to different communities or different religions, but the blood flowing in our veins is the same. Our anger is the same. Our hatred is the same. So our love has to be the same. If there is a God in this world, my friends, it has to be one God. If there is a heaven in the universe, it has to be one heaven. There cannot be a Muslim heaven, Hindu heaven, Christian, Buddhist, or Jain heaven. There has to be one heaven. There has to be one God in this universe. Then why are we quarreling and why are we fighting and giving hard time to marginalized and vulnerable population? If we have the same energy, same blood, same emotions in our hearts and minds, so why are we quarreling? Why are we fighting? And why we have created smaller groups and we have made this world as a world of hatred, discrimination, and kind of segmentations. Friends, the power of negative people is not that great. But if good people are not active, the bad certainly will be, and their action will cause society to suffer. Therefore, good people have to make a special effort to bring peace, love, and compassion on this earth. We cannot afford to remain inactive. It seems that our modern education system on its own probably will not be able to resolve these dilemmas. The political world may have other agendas to handle, but religion and religious leaders have the power to transform the world, provided we all work together. And at this point, I especially admire, congratulate the efforts of Pujya Swamiji. In his leadership, we have been seeing for many years that in some way or the other, he makes a special effort to unite and bring people together. Religious leaders may confine or may continue to practice their faiths in their own ways, according to their faiths and tradition. But we all can join hands in bringing a positive change to the world, and religious people only have this power to do. We are connected to the communities, we are connected to the ladies. Religious people have power, so they can inspire and motivate people for a common agenda of bringing peace, compassion, and love in this world. If we wish to see a peaceful world, the nurturing of non-violence, the nurturing of peace and compassion should become an integral part of a religion and spiritual understanding. Different faith leaders, and we have seen that different faith leaders have been doing this in their own ways for so many years, especially in this pandemic situation. We have seen that how different religious groups have really supported the pandemic sufferers by doing so many good work. People were distributing, religious organizations were doing ration kits, food, medicine, oxygen, counseling, or maybe organizing positive webinars. So many things religious people have been doing in their own areas, in their own ways, to aim to reduce the suffering and pain of different people without a distinction of caste, creed, race, and religion. Our organization, Vinayathan, has also done some wonderful work by providing millions of hot food to COVID patients, the sufferers of COVID families. And now, this organization has adopted hundreds of children who lost their both parents or one parent in this deadly pandemic. And in this, and providing best of the education to these kids without any distinction of caste, creed, race, or religion. Such positive initiatives by religious leaders can definitely promote peace, tolerance, acceptance, and peace in the society. We're not here just to hold the conferences or doing some discussion. Religious people always do some practical things to bring change in the society. Be quick to do good. Set your heart on doing good. Do it over and over again until you're filled with immense joy. I appreciate Deepikaji also for taking this initiative, for taking this lead of conducting this webinar. Once again, my congratulations, my appreciation for all the organizers and our always support for bringing peace and love and compassion into this world. Thank you very much.
I appreciate Sadhvi Silpaji for those insightful remarks and for sharing such concrete practical actions on the ground that sort of that's bringing about positive change. So thank you so much. Now I have the pleasure of welcoming Father Felix Jones, who is representing the Archbishop of Delhi. Father Jones is a Catholic priest, currently the Director of Interfaith Relations, Archdiocese of Delhi. He represented Vivat International, an international NGO in the United Nations. Since 1990, he has been working for the welfare of substance abusers, street children, HIV/AIDS infected and affected people, commercial sex workers, rag-picking women, spastic children, cystic rickshaw pullers, migrants, and all. So, Father Jones, we look forward to hearing your remarks.
Good evening to everybody. There is a question. What shall we do? My answer is interfaith leaders start on a personal relationship. Start with a dialogue that asks not what might other traditions learn from us, but what might we learn from them. And this is what we do in the capital city of Delhi. I'm so glad to see the presence of Swami Shantatmananda. We share these thoughts. And the interfaith movement should lead to an exchange of gifts, not just seeking to teach each other. Our abstract theological language is not the only way to talk about faith, but an experience and personal testimony to be shared between us or shared among us. Dialogue always begins with friendship. Thus, we need to develop new initiative on local levels to enter into new relationship. When we get to know each other, we no longer remain the other, but become friends, become associates, become brother or sister in faith. Where there has been alienation and tension, this will require a change of attitude and a new sense of common commitment to this mission. The social mission of the church offers a common ground for addressing together many of the practical problems we face. We lack grassroots level dialogue. Theological discussions and high-level dialogue take place between the leaders who don't need any positive change because they have the goodwill. But the same thing needs to be present at the grassroots. do we take our dialogue, our goodwill to the grassroots? In our daily lives, we need to meet people of other faiths and share from our religious commitment rather than having theological debates. The real dialogue among us will be the seed of hope, love, and concern. Commitment from the heads of organizations, commitment from the leaders that gets percolated to the last and least in the society. A few examples in Delhi. We have interfaith celebrations. The last interfaith Christmas had these leaders, cutting across all faith. And every 24th of December, there is Christmas celebration in Ramakrishna Ashram. So welcoming, so assuring, creating a brotherhood, sisterhood, a fraternity. I salute the leader of Ramakrishna Ashram who conducts this without failure every year. Last May, we had an interfaith dialogue to respond to the threat of the coronavirus pandemic with the universality of prayer, of compassion and tenderness. We wanted to be with each other, to share inspiration, to share hope and help to each other, united in our act of love for this world as we physically stay away from each other to protect each other. And these were the interfaith leaders who were present at this. We had an interfaith prayer in solidarity with the nation and world during the time of pandemic. Again, another interfaith leader to come together in solidarity, to mourn and pray for those who have died. The gallant soldiers at the border, those felled by virus, doctors and nurses and paramedics who died caring for them. There was an interfaith homage done to all of them. These were the leaders present. Again, we had an interfaith discussion. How do we provide God-like care for such a time as this and to the humanity? There is another interfaith discussion, the right to dignified disposal of dead bodies in the time of COVID-19. When Swami Agnivesh passed away, we paid an interfaith homage to them. Leaders come together at vital moments like this to feel for each other, to support each other. These were the leaders present. We also celebrated or observed empowerment of the girl child in an interfaith way. These were the leaders present. I present to you certain statements made by interfaith leaders. One, Archbishop, another Archbishop, Sadhvi Brahmakumari Sadhana, Dr. A.K. Merchant, Professor Muhammad Salim Engineer, Goswami Shushil Maharaj, Maulana Muhammad Iqbal Mullah, Mr. Kamal Farooqi, Rabbi Ezekiel Isaac Maleko, Singh Sahib Gyani Ranjit Singh, head priest of Gurudwara, late Swami Martandapuri, Swami Shivananda Saraswati, an issue bringing Swami Shantatmananda, a social issue bringing all religious leaders together. Venerable Geshe Dorji Damdal, the present leader in Tivat Ashram. On 2nd of October, every 2nd of October, we have prayer for India. So my suggestion, question to all of us is now, Let's begin this in an atmosphere of friendship, trust, and hope, and get that percolated to the grassroots. Thank you.
Much gratitude to Father Jones for his remarks and for emphasizing on the importance of working together, from all, people of all faith coming together and working in interfaith collaborative effort. Thank you, Father Jones. Now I have the honor and pleasure of welcoming our next speaker, Swami Santanananda, head of Ramakrishna Mission in Delhi. In his journey of nearly 45 years in the Ramakrishna Order, so far he has spent nearly 30 years at the international headquarters of the Order in Viziermonth in West Bengal. He has been a member of some of the insightful committees set up by Center for Education. Presently, he is a member of the NITIRU. Swami Santanananda has contributed a column occasionally for the Speaking Trees of Times of India. He has a deep love for music and he is deeply interested in sports. Swami, the floor is.
Namaskar. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Paramadaraniya Swami Chidananda Ji and other religious leaders present, particularly my dear friend Father Felix. It was nearly 130 years ago in 1893, Swami Vivekananda appeared at the World Parliament of Religions. And it was for the first time a religious leader spoke about the need for harmony, the dire need for harmony. During that World Parliament, he clearly established how important it is and also how it can be achieved. He told a beautiful story. There was a frog in the well, and it was thinking that there had no view of the world outside. It thought that the whole world consists of its own little well. One day, by accident, a frog from the sea fell into the well, and then the frog of the well challenged him, "Who are you?" However much the sea frog tried to tell him how big it's a sea, he wouldn't understand. He said, "You are a liar. I don't believe you. You have come to occupy my well." So Swamiji said, we are all like that. The Hindu sits in his own little well and thinks the whole world is that much. He said similarly about everything. So this is essentially the reason for our misunderstanding. But so since then, the Ramakrishna Mission for the last 130, we've been promoting our schools, our colleges, our institutions are open to everybody. Crores of patients from other religions, particularly all our Bangladesh centers, the patients are all Muslims practically. So that has been our tradition. We are working all right. But what I'm saying today the problem is not so much interfaith. It's rather people basically moving away from religion. Please remember, it is not so much interfaith. To my mind, people are moving away from religion. People are not interested because what is being dished out in the name of religion is no longer satisfying people. So it is so necessary for all of us to introspect and find out what's really going wrong with us, why people are moving away from religion. So this is the first task for all religious leaders, to strengthen their own community. They will not go to other communities. Let them really take stock of their communities, because once people are really with harmony, will be a matter of course, because truly religious people can never differ from others, because essentially, whereas Hinduism or Islam or Christianity all speak of a creator God. We're all children of God. Whatever may be the name of the God with which we call him or her, all are God's children. So where is the question of difference? All of us are brothers and sisters. It's essentially because people are moving away from religion. Today, we have such a huge problem. Ultimately, all those who create disharmony, those who really involve in genocide or whatever it is, they have absolutely no connection to any religion whatsoever. It's only a facade. They are these and that and so on. In essence, they don't belong to any religion. So essentially, if religious leaders take care of their own communities, because they are going, every religion at core, it talks of peace, it talks of harmony, it talks of brotherhood, it talks of understanding. So probably, there will be very little scope for disharmony. These are first and foremost task for all of us. Apart from that, I have always been talking about this in many of the conferences. It's not enough that we talk all this, discuss in such enlightened atmosphere. Can we go to the grassroots and speak this? Just as our Father Felix said that every 24th Christmas, we organize a Christmas celebration in our temple, in our main temple. Is it possible for the mass and for the churches and the Buddhist viharas and etc. to give space? Can they arrange a sermon or an interfaith meet in each one of their places of worship where the commoners will be invited? In 2008, we did a very special interfaith meet when we said the religious leaders should bring at least 50 of their followers. So people like Sadhvi, Saraswati, or our Deepika, or our Swamiji, we don't need to understand. We all know it too well. So of course, there are many more things to discuss, but there is no time because I've already have cancelled several other programs. Tomorrow morning, early morning, I'm leaving for Jaipur. Anyway, because it was such a great occasion, I didn't want to miss it. So once again, I thank Deepika and all the other organizations of Sadhvi and Swamiji for this beautiful idea. But then please remember these two important things. The religious leaders should attend to their own communities and really fix the problem of people moving away from religion. A huge number of people all over the world. Churches are being sold like anything in Europe and America, etc. Can religious leaders hold their communities together? And then whether the religious leaders will have access to grassroots followers of other religions. Perhaps these are two major initiatives that we can take so that the matter really goes forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for bringing the importance of looking within one's own community and the community at the level if we want to see actual change taking place. So next, I have the privilege of inviting Haji Said Salman Chisti, who has been heading this Chisti Foundation, Ajmer Sharif, as the managing trustee and chairman from the last 8 years, of which he is also the founding member along with other elders of the Chisti Sunni family. He has been traveling extensively with a focus on the blessed cause of unity and conditional love, serve and respect for the whole of humanity across the world. He has written articles on Islamic spirituality, ethics of the Chisti Sufi order, and related subjects for various English, national and international newspapers, journals, publications, blogs, and websites globally.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As-salatu salam alayka ya Sayyid al-Mursaleen wa rahmatan lil alameen. Greeting of peace, salam, shanti, and lots of regard and respect to all the elders here. Puja Swami Ji, Charan Maharaj, Sadhvi Bhagavati Ji, Bhai Sahib Ji. So blessed and honored to be here in your presence. Our regards and respect to the organizers who have meticulously always engaged in serving the message which leads to practical action. Religion for Peace, United Nations, and all the elders who have thought of bringing together the faith leaders to have an understanding, not only on occasions, specific days, but moreover, very regularly, so that these thoughts and ideas can really transform into practical actions, as just earlier Swamiji just has mentioned the importance of these practical realities. So from Ajmer Dargah Sharif, we extend our respect to all of you here, and also share the message which is being lived practically every day in Ajmer Sharif at the Dargah of Khaja Moinuddin Chishti, as love all and hate none. Mohabbat sabse aur nafrat kisi se nahi. As it has been recorded in the Holy Guru Granth Sahib as well, Awwal Allah noor paya kudrat ke sab bande. Ek noor te sab jag upjaya, kaun bhale kaun bande. It's the light that has been bestowed across our planet. If we follow the light, we don't make any distinction or differences upon whom the light has been shined. As Gharib Nawaz himself has asked us to develop 3 attributes of nature. If we want to serve the Creator, engage yourself in serving the creation and develop these 3 attributes of the nature: sun like grace, river like generosity, and earth like hospitality, as these attributes never make any differences or distinctions upon whom they are serving. That's what the faith leaders stood for. The gurus, swamis, yogis, sufis, mystics, reverends, they have always united with these fundamental values and principles of serving all with unconditional love. Today, unfortunately, because of mere political gains or immediate rewards, people engage in such acts which disunite this harmony. Hate speech is not a distant or a long forward way of understanding what is going on in the society. It is very much here. We experience it, we see it, we hear it, and we also see the consequences that it leads to: provocations, violence. And that is primarily that we all have to collectively address in our spiritual gatherings, in our common interaction with people, day-to-day interactions. Platform like this, which are so important, and with the presence of spiritual leaders like Swamiji, Bhai Sahib Ji, who are globally sharing the message in the highest realm, Sadhvi Ji, who's writing so much in the dailies, the prominent dailies across India. Her articles have been coming. Gurudev Rakesh Bhai Ji, and all the prominent leaders who have just spoken earlier, Shri Ravi Shankar Ji, their voices collectively should reflect upon the policies of the state and the nation. We have United Nations here, Religion for Peace, who's been extensively working globally. Why these reflections are not becoming the policies of states and nations across the world? This is something that we have to reflect within ourselves. When millions of people are listening, following, honoring the words, why is it the state and nations, into their national policies, international collaborations, under the auspicious of United Nations, are they really translating into the policies which results in mass movements, in action that can really mobilize millions and millions of people? Policies and actions, those plans, are they really implemented? If they would have, we wouldn't have been still analyzing and observing the outcome of hate speeches, which is so real in today's 21st century. Despite the challenges of COVID pandemic, which brought humanity together, there were some instances which unfortunately also drove communities apart from each other. So we have both instances. And the positive part is, obviously, the majority is those who are bringing people together. So we could say there's a fringe element, there's a minority who's engaging in such kind of act, but still they exist. And the need is to translate our remarks, our suggestions, with the presence of the divine elders, divine souls here, into practical policies in different states and nations. As Khaja Gharib Nawaz has says, and I would close my remarks because I know we are already running out of schedule. I would pray, we collectively pray that hopefully in the year 2022, we would be able to come together in out of the digital spaces, in person, and share this common goals that we all long to see within ourselves, around us, and around the world. So what Khaja Gharib Nawaz has spoken at 800 years ago is so relevant today in his one of the last sermon or the teachings before he left the worldly abode. He asked us to, which truly become the foundational principle of the Chishti Sufi orders globally, as the millions and millions of Chishtis, mystics, and the students have been implementing this. We talk about Baba Farid, we talk about Hazrat Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki, to Baba Farid, to Nizamuddin Auliya, numerous gurus from the Chishti orders. So has been imbibed with the gurus of the later ages. What Khaja Gharib Nawaz has asked us, love all and hate none. Mere talk of peace will avail you not. Mere talk of God and religion will not take you far. Bring out all the latent powers of your being and reveal the full magnificence of your immortal self. Be overflowing with peace and joy, and scatter them wherever you are and wherever you go. Be a blazing fire of truth, and be a beauteous blossom of love. Be a smoothing balm of peace with your spiritual light. This is the light that we addressed at the beginning, that Awwal Allah Noor Ubjai. Be with your spiritual light, dispel the darkness of ignorance, dissolve the clouds of discord and war, and spread goodwill, peace and harmony among the people. Never seek any help, charity, or favors from anybody except God. Never go to the courts of the king, but never refuse to help, bless the needy and the poor, the widows and the orphan if they come to your door. This is your mission, to serve the people, serve the creation. So if we want to seek closeness to the Creator, we engage yourself in serving the creation, Khaliq and Makhluk. So the last word which he concluded this remark was that carry out these duties with courage and joy, so that I, as your Pir Murshid, as your spiritual teacher, may not be ashamed of any of your shortcomings in front of Almighty God and the holy predecessors in the Sufi order. Imagine Khaja Gharib Nawaz Moinuddin Chishti asking us that any of your shortcomings, and this is also the words of all the parents when they look at their children, that any of their shortcomings, our spiritual elders, our gurus, our teachers, I'm sure Bhai Sahib is here, he's one of our elders, his understanding, they are also, any of our shortcomings should not make the elders ashamed. So we have to be very careful when we move out in public spaces, what we are speaking, how we are conducting ourselves. And this truly, if we reflect on such teachings, the hate speeches and the incitement would truly vanish from the face of earth. And that is our noble intention. God reward those who are together with noble intention. Whether we are able to accomplish it into the shorter future or the near future, but the reward for the noble intention is bestowed with strengthening the spiritual work that we're all doing collectively. Thank you, Sadhvi ji, Bhai Sahib ji. Remember us in your prayers. Deepika ji, Swami ji, all the elders here. Remember us in your prayers, said, so that we are away from the evil eyes and the vasvasa, the incitations of the worldly wise. And we are always engaged in serving. We have to pray for keeping ourselves away from these evil vices, which time to time often gets inroad even to the spiritual network as well. When you start serving your own nafs, the lower self, rather than serving the divine presence, which is within us. So inshallah, with all the prayers of the elders, we look forward to see you soon, inshallah. Have a blessed year closing and the new year coming up. Season's greetings to all of you. And Religion for Peace is doing wonderful work. We continue to serve together. Thank you. Salam, adab, duas from Ajmer Sharif always. Shukriya, bahut bahut adab. Thank you for giving us this time and opportunity.
Thank you so much, Haziji, for your riveting and very inspiring sharing and sort of emphasizing on the critical importance of translating our remarks into very concrete, practical policies and actions. Thank you so much for that. Now, I'm so pleased to welcome VP Kiranjit Kaurji, who is a senior Ceremony Gurudwara Parvenda Committee member and has previously held the position of General Secretary of the SGPC. Kiranjit Kaurji has deep personal interest in the Sikh heritage and has championed high-profile conservation causes. She is the director of an orphanage that brings up children in the Sikh way of life. She is also the director of Gurmat Vidyalaya, a school that trains young Sikhs as preachers of Sikh religion. She has initiated interfaith dialogue of Sikhs with Jews and represents SGPC on international platforms. Her special interest is in promoting the role of Sikh women in religious and religion-related position. Bibi Kaurji, may I request you for your remarks? Over to you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this platform with such distinguished people and divine souls. Today was a very special day for us because we celebrated the martyrdom of our 9th Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, and I would like to share that story because of its relevance to today's topic of discussion. Excuse me. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the 9th Guru of the Sikhs, so that people of another faith could live and practice their faith. The story goes, Hindu Brahmins from Kashmir were under pressure from the Mughal ruler to change their religion in the mid-17th century, and they pleaded Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji to save them. The Guru made a deal with the emperor. If he could induce the Guru to change his faith, the Kashmiri Pandits would follow suit, and if the emperor couldn't, then the Kashmiri Pandits would be free to follow their religion. The Guru was tortured inhumanly and then beheaded when he refused to convert to another religion. The Emperor Aurangzeb, true to his word, did not force Kashmiri Pandits to convert. The Sikhs have been taught the lesson of accepting another's faith and standing up for their right to follow a different path by the supreme sacrifice of their Guru. It forms the basis of an inclusive society. Not only do we conclude our prayer by invoking welfare of all beings, in times of distress, we reach out individually as well as collectively. It's part of practicing our faith. The most recent difficult situation was the impact of COVID on humanity. Sikhs reached out, irrespective of religion and faith, to other people, not just with food, langar, but also arrange oxygen cylinders when the demand for this life-saving gas exceeded its availability in hospitals. My organization, the SGPC, set up oxygen beds in various gurdwaras under its management to provide relief to people in distress. Despite our humanitarian and inclusive approach towards society, we face challenges that I would like to share with you all. Poor, illiterate, and marginalized section of our society are being converted to another faith very visibly. If the reasons were spiritual and religious, there would be no problem. Unfortunately, reasons are economic, and people are being fooled by scripted miracles, demeaning the religion that they had been following. The new religious leaders encourage the new converts to build walls with other religious communities. At the same time, the new converts keep visible symbols of their old faith and ridicule their original faith among the faithfuls. This is adding to social tension in society where none existed earlier. Even within the same religion, the difference in interpretation and understanding of the religious philosophy and religious code of conduct among its followers has begun a conflict that is becoming aggressive, bordering on violence. Hate speech becomes personal and more intense of social media. Same religious voices are needed who speak up to provide religious leadership, emphasizing divine interconnectivity of human beings from every religious platform may be the solution. Joint action for challenges that human beings are facing, like climate change, water crisis, air and water pollution, may be helpful for different faith leaders to work together. And the most important, build dialogue platforms to find solution for issues that add to conflict in the society. So when we are talking about inclusive societies, we also need to find ways to work together and underline the common qualities of each religion, which is helping others, loving others, having compassion, and having belief in God. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bibi Kaurji, for that very inspiring yet practical experience that you shared, and also emphasizing on the importance of working together. So now I do have the pleasure of welcoming Father Philip Kurivilla, who's a priest in the Orthodox Church, and he has been working with HIV/AIDS and LGBT communities. He has worked in the National Council of Churches in India and the Christian Conference of Asia in the areas of human rights, HIV/AIDS, and sexual minority issues, and has held several positions in Indian and Asian interfaith organizations. Father Philip, the floor is yours.
It's always difficult to be the last speaker. My pranam to all the dignitaries who are present here and who were on this panel. I'm representing the Orthodox Church in India, a 2,000-year-old church founded by a disciple of Jesus Christ, St. Thomas. I love the idea behind this event, to discuss the role of religious leaders in fostering inclusive and peaceful societies. All around us, we see society breaking down due to so many reasons. How then can we as religious leaders come forward? Thank you for inviting me to this panel. It's possibly I was invited because I have done at least 2 decades of work bringing the most marginalized groups to the table of inclusion. Basically, people living with HIV and AIDS and members of the LGBT community. Leaders like Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, our own Guruji, Pujya Chidananda Swamiji, and Sadhvi Bhagwatji, Imam Ilyasi ji, all we have worked together earlier. Now, what I would see from this program is that structures exist already, internationally and in India. The international ones are represented here. Religions for Peace, United Nations, especially following the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And we are dealing with the 16th here. But I'm going to suggest something new, because while endorsing the fine ideals and ideas my brother and sisters have spoken, I suggest we create a platform here in India, a coordinating body that can link existing institutions and work towards the wonderful suggestions and the goals that we have found already expounded here. I take a moment to talk about science fiction. Science fiction books and movies, they have, among other things, shown us futuristic scenarios. For example, the Earth being attacked by aliens from outer space, or diseases like COVID. And these were made 10 and 20 years ago. All these attack our species, we as Homo sapiens. And then in these movies and books, we see people and governments coming together, overcoming their borders, their differences. Suddenly, it's not important what religion you belong to, what country you belong to, what gender you belong to. We have to solve the issues. So today, pandemic, poverty, water scarcity, terrorism, all of these are crossing borders of countries and religions. Do we need a pandemic to remind us of our commonness? Enough has been spoken by the respected faith leaders on this webinar, and we all know about India being the home of Vasudeva Kudumbakam. While endorsing all the ideas and ideals of these respected faith leaders, I wish to suggest one practical outcome. This could be put into the plan of action. I leave that to you, at least the Indian plan of action, to create a group or a forum, and I call it an interfaith forum, to walk the talk, to realize the ideals that are highlighted here, because vision and action both are important. It's because I honestly have a dream. I have a dream that religious leaders step out of their comfort zones and bring peaceful societies. I would like to say publicly here that Paramartha Ashram, Art of Living, under the divine leadership of these gurus, have done this. They've stepped where no ordinary faith leader would have gone to support the marginalized. And so when we are asked, we ask you to take the lead, to create a space. I went to see Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar about a month ago in the Art of Living campus. And I said this precisely: all around things are failing. And we as faith leaders, what can we do? What are we doing to bring some healing? And I suggested this there. And here, 2 months later, we have this. So it's just a continuation of that suggestion. Dr. Alice is here to get a plan of action to ensure genocide does not occur. But I am suggesting a group or a caucus be brought together in India representing all faiths, not just for simple things like HIV and the LGBT as we've done previously, but we work together. We saw what wonderful ways we could do things when we could put aside our differences. And what we really need to do is to bring together trust. As a faith leader, if I don't trust my fellow faith leaders, how do I expect my people, my flock, my followers to trust others? Many ideas have been given today on this webinar. To implement them, this group can coordinate with existing structures in India and internationally. In my reading of this country, especially currently, such a plan of action, such a group or an idea cannot come from the Christian side. What can somebody who represents 2.4% of this vast Indian subcontinent, how can we lead this? This idea must be taken forward by those who hold the hearts and desires and drive the dreams of the masses of Hindus in India. Leadership must come from Paramartha, Art of Living, Sri Madhusanji of Karnataka. I'll end by requesting the distinguished leaders in the webinar, especially those who have organized this, my beloved Pujya Chidananda Swamiji and Sadhvi Bhagwatji, to take a lead to take this forward. That truly would be faith in action. Thank you for this time.
Thank you so much to you, Father Philip, for reminding us of the critical importance of inclusivity, particularly of those marginalized and vulnerable. Thank you. So at this moment in time, I would like to sincerely thank all the speakers for their very inspiring yet practical interventions. We had the opportunities to hear and understand, among many recommendations and best practices, how religious leaders can contribute to disseminating values of tolerance, inclusion, and respect for diversity and human rights through holistic education in India. And what are the most effective ways to speak out against hateful and discriminatory rhetorics that might spark violence and hatred. So with that, I really want to once again thank you all. And I now hand it over to those speaking in the clip for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the Special Advisor on Prevention of Genocide, who had to leave us a little bit early, I wanted really to express to all of you my deep appreciation for myself, my office, for all of you making this time and coming together today to discuss how we can work together to build these more inclusive and peaceful societies. We really listened today such powerful messages from all of you and such diverse experiences from religious leaders representing different and various faiths in India. And it was clear messages on how we can prevent hate narrative, violence, and atrocity crimes is possible. It is possible now. Many of you mentioned that there have been already too many conflicts that are happening in this world, and some in the name of faith, and that we all need to work together to celebrate this diversity and really build peace. There has been also several proposals that you mentioned how we can move forward and continue strengthening these interfaith dialogues in India, in the region, and bringing together all religious leaders' voices. There have been many references of your experience and how really we need to start at the individual level, at the individual minds and hearts, and how to transform at this individual level the society into making this knowledge and this understanding really to permeate all of us and all societies, and make really possible this to be converted in reality in practical means. So our office really stands ready to continue supporting all the work you have already been doing. There were also proposals to create such a platform of a network of religious leaders, and actors in India, and continue with this interfaith dialogue. We stand ready to support this and to explore with all of you the next steps that we continue this dialogue. So I will say this was the first one, and we are really much looking forward to continue this conversation, this dialogue, exploring joint actions with all of you. Thank you very much.
I was saying what a beautiful honor and blessing this event has been, which we knew from the beginning it would be. And one of the really beautiful aspects of it is that so many of the leaders mentioned how India really is a country dedicated to inclusiveness, a country that has throughout history opened its arms to people of minority religions seeking refuge from different places in the world. India is known for that. And yet, tragically, these days, with the way that media operates, the way that so much happens, what gets highlighted are the pockets of conflict, which of course exist and need to be dealt with and addressed and healed. But you don't see so much of the reflection of really the underlying unity amongst the leaders of the different religions. And after so many months of being sort of inundated with media around the conflict, it's been really beautiful to sink in for a few hours back into the real truth of what the fabric of Indian society is rooted in, which is oneness and togetherness and peace. And I feel very optimistic with regard specifically to the plan of action and the Office of Genocide Prevention and the responsibility to protect, because having brought these leaders together in such a very specific agenda, a very specific platform, and to hear everyone's exuberant and ardent support and enthusiasm for the general idea, of course, of ending hate speech and bringing about peaceful societies, but also very specifically regarding the plan of action. I think it's going to be a really beautiful and really exciting way to see this plan of action now get propagated more and more throughout India. And that was very exciting. And we're running so late as always. And yet it's been such an incredible joy, and with such deep gratitude to all of the leaders, and especially to leaders who were not even here to speak. We have our Mufti Rahman from Assam, our sister Lucy from Pune, who joined just to listen, and so many others who joined just to listen, to soak up what other leaders were saying. So deep gratitude to all of the leaders. Deep gratitude to the Office of Genocide Prevention and the entire team there, Simona and Denise and Maria, working under Miss Alice Nadir, and of course to Religions for Peace and our beloved and respected Deepika for bringing your beautiful wisdom and your very graceful presence and your experience into this panel and this event. And lastly, such deep gratitude to our Global Interfaith WASH Alliance team, who have been working behind the scenes to make this happen, to Ganganandani ji for moderating so beautifully the first panel, and to the whole team working with her, under her, to bring this event to fruition. And lastly, our beloved Dr. Krupali Patel, our tech team in scrubs, who is a physician in America, but runs the tech for us on all of our very important calls like this. And the rest of our beautiful tech team here, the camera team, the audio team, the video team, for making this all work. And we look so forward to continuing not only the conversation, but to continuing the actual work together. And from night on the banks of Mother Ganga, such deep love and respect and gratitude to all of you.